So right now, these issues cannot be resolved within NEC. Neither can they be resolved by the National Council. The only hope now lies in the Delegates Conference. I know some of you are members, and now the challenge is before you. The D-Day is 19th. It's a clarion call on your part. I'm not here to crusade that you take this particular decision, but to inform you about your obligation. Just to tell you that you have a duty to rescue your party. As simple as that. The chairman has called for a delegates conference on 19th, a special one, and it's within his mandate. Those of you have copies of the, because it has become now controversial, I need at least to make reference to the provisions of the Constitution to assure you that what the chairman has done is within, perfectly within the ambit of the party constitution. And whoever challenges that particular position is the enemy of the party. So in Article 28, I'll read it, you get to understand yourself. Party officers, party chairperson, there shall be a chairperson and 4 vice chairpersons of the party. The chairperson shall convene and chair the National Delegates Conference and the National Council. You know my training, I'm a lawyer. When they say, when the particular provision of the law is couched in such a language with shall, it's mandatory. Nobody else is seized with the power to call it the National Delegates Conference. It is here, the party constitution, which is sacred. So if you respect the sanctity of the party constitution, look at this. The chairperson shall convene and chair the National Delegates Conference and the National Council. Article 28, clause 1, paragraph B of your party constitution. It is the national chairperson, the Honorable Birigwa, who is supposed to call the Delegates Conference and chair it. So he has called for one on 19th. Somebody else is holding out as a convener of another Delegates Conference for 6th. The choice is yours. The choice is yours. Somebody hoodwinking you that they are seized with the power to call a Delegates Conference to elect leaders on 6th. So the choice is yours now. You take it from me, 6th of October, that's when they have called it. And that is none other than the Honorable Toterebuka Bamwenda. The Honorable Toterebuka Bamwenda was chosen by the Delegates Conference as one of the members of the electoral body, but not the chair. The chair was the Honorable Nsibambi, who was elected in the National Delegates Conference of 2017. But I'm sorry to use this term, he became a wall.
A wall. A wall is not a wall.
A all and a wall.
Those are two different.
They are two. He disappeared, he abandoned, he abdicated the duty. He created a vacuum which unfortunately has not been filled, but somebody is purporting to act without even any instrument. You ask the Honorable Toterebuka, which instrument appointed you as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission? It's not there. Not even National Council, not even in NEC. And he's the one presiding over elections. And you hear people participating in those elections. We wanted to sort that out. Because as a party, the FDC, we should lead by example. And say, please, this is the party constitution. We set out to govern and regulate the party. So, the Honorable Toterebuka Bamwenda has no mandate. And I want to challenge him to cite an instrument that appointed him as the party chairperson, as the chairperson of the electoral body of the party. So the Honorable Nsibambi, surprisingly, an astute lawyer who knows all this, after abdicating his duty, he's passing through a ventilation up there to become here the party whip in parliament, to take over the role of, instead of asserting his authority as the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, he's taking on a totally different role. So, the decision is yours. For me, I presented to you the provision of the Constitution. The other relevant provision, no, still on that particular provision, 28, about the functions of the chairperson. Oversee discipline and overall ethical standards in the party. Ensure harmony within the party. You can underline that. I wanted to underscore that particular provision. The spirit, rather, to underscore the spirit of that party. That it's the chairman, the chairperson, who should ensure that there is harmony within the party. And the reason why he has called for the Delegates Conference of 19th to say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's sit down and address the crisis we have, the turmoil in the party, to take a decision who is right, who is wrong, which direction should the party take. Because we are at crossroads. And then you hear somebody who claims to be the alpha and omega of the party, saying, no, that will not happen. And indeed, actually, they have written to the Electoral Commission of Yabakama to stop a delegates conference, which is called to address a party crisis, that they are calling for tear gas to stop it. Can you imagine? Would that person be hard to say that he wishes well for the party when the national chairman calls it? For National Council, you remember, I'm sure you, those of you who did not come to Najanankum, I'm sure you saw those ugly scenes on TV where the chairperson had to jump over the fence at Najanankum. How did you feel? How did you feel? Very, very embarrassing. With his age, can you imagine? Can you imagine that awful thing happening at the party headquarters, and somebody has not taken, nobody is taking responsibility? You don't have the, at least a modicum of humility to say, no. I went wrong on this. So anyway, that is it. Now, the other relevant provision I want you to take a note of. Are we together? Yes. So I told you I'm not here to crusade on anything, to present to you the relevant provisions of the Constitution. You take your own decision. Because somebody will accuse me of coming here to whip you into a particular direction. No, I'm not here to whip you into a direction, but to lay the facts bare for you to take your own judgment, decision. So Article 21, there shall be an executive committee comprising of party president and all NEC members. The most relevant one, Article 21, Clause 2 of the party constitution. Members of the National Executive Committee shall be elected by the National Delegates Conference. That is very, very clear. That for members of the National Executive Committee to be elected, there must be a Delegates Conference. And who convenes the National Delegates Conference is the national chairperson. Now, the notice we saw in the press calling for some meeting called the National Conference. They tactfully omitted the word Delegates Conference and said there is going to be some conference on 6th to elect members of the National Executive Committee. How? Which conference? Which meeting is that of 6th? Which meeting is it? Called by Toterebuka Bamwenda. He called it a National Conference, not a Delegates Conference. Yet for members of NEC to be elected, it has to be delegates conference. And delegates conference can only be called by the national chairperson. The very last provision is Article 23. It talks about the National Delegates Conference. The National Delegates Conference shall be the supreme policy-making organ, and among its functions, Article 23, Clause 3, functions of the National Delegates Conference shall be A, elected the National Executive Committee. Function number 1 of the National Delegates Conference is to elect members. So whoever goes for that purported conference of 6th, and you come out jubilating that you have been elected on any position of neck, you are daydreaming. You are just deceiving yourself. Actually, you will be participating in missions intended to kill the party. So the very final one is because they have raised the doubts about the validity of the Delegates Conference of the special one. So it's Article 23, which Clause 5, which provides for an extraordinary meeting shall be convened by the chairperson. That is the Honorable Birigwa in office now, in any of the following circumstances. So it's the chairperson to call it in the first place, in any of the following circumstances. And the circumstances are 4. 1, when the chairperson so decides. He has those prerogatives. It's his discretion. Wide discretionary powers to take a decision if circumstances so warrant. B, on receipt of a petition from a half of the district executive committees. If we have 150 districts, if at least a half of the district executive petition, the chairperson can call it. 3, on receipt of a petition from 30% of the delegates from at least 50% of the districts in the country. Self-explanatory. The last one, where the National Executive Committee requests. NEC cannot sit now to request. So, what has happened? In his wisdom, and pursuant to his mandate under Article 28 of ensuring that there is harmony in the party, the Honorable Birigwa deemed it necessary, deemed it prudent, and absolutely necessary to call for an extraordinary delegates conference to resolve the turmoil. And it's that delegates conference scheduled for 19th, and you are being mobilized not to attend. If you boycott that meeting of 19th, you know in your heart of hearts, in your conscience, you know you are killing the FDC. Because that meeting is intended to look for solutions to the current stalemate we have in the party. And the notice is very clear. Address the current stalemate in the party. Problem, they are people who are fearing the truth to come out. They want to bury it under the carpet. And that is detrimental. So I think, at least on that particular issue, I've given you all the sufficient information you need. My request is that you take your own decision. Mine, I'll be there on 19th. How about you? It's up to you. On 6th, it's an illegal meeting. The one of 6th called by Toterebuka Bamwenda. I will not be there. If they purport to choose NEC members on 6th of October, you don't need even to predict what will be my position. I'll just wash my hands out of that leadership. This is what we told Mao. So, and whoever will participate on 6th, just look at what the footsteps of Mnobati Mao. Just do the same and wait for the homecoming. Remember the homecoming you had at Kaunda grounds? Who was the chief guest? Who was the chief guest? Exactly. So just wait for the homecoming. you'll be attending the homecoming like you hosted here in Kaunda grounds. The final one is to respond to just a couple of issues that have been doing rounds. Just 1, 2, 3. The accusations. One, some of us have been accused because I'm deputy president in the FDC, I'm deputy president in the people's government, that we are creating a parallel organization. Very, very unfortunate. That's not true. We have not created a parallel organization. The people's government, you know its genesis, its purpose, its mission and agenda. I joined that people's government as a deputy president long even before I became a member of the FDC. And it was the very accusation Mao was leveling against me as an individual, that I'm selling DP to FDC. But before that, we were together with the Honorable Norbert Mao in the FOC. Initially, actually, it was opposed to FOC. But when it gained traction and momentum, when we were welcoming Dr. Chiza Besigye from Nairobi, after he was almost killed around the Murago roundabout there by Gilbert Bwana, whose fate now you all know. Dr. Besigye went to Nairobi, and on his return, we welcomed him from Mao. I remember Mao joined the FOC around the Nkumba there. Around Nkumba. That's when he came to join, and he said, now I'm pulling up the sleeves, we're going to fight. And indeed, he put up a fight, I must commend him, and he ended up in Nakasongola. He was taken to Nakasongola, where he was detained. But we are joining hands to fight the monster I've been talking about. The dynasty we are having today, the Ghani rule. So that is the purpose of the people's government. And our mission is very, very clear. Taking power back to the people, restoration of people's power, people power. That is not true. And of course, it was sanctioned by the party itself. Two, that we opposed to elections. You know, this propaganda that actually, as people's government, we don't want FDC to participate. I think that will be elaborated and sufficiently or succinctly explained by the people's president. But my simple message on that, don't be gullible. Don't accept that kind of cheap propaganda. Because we have time and again said we are using elections as a tool to continue with the struggle. That elections cannot remove a dictator. Like in which case did we have elections removing a dictator? It has not happened. But we participate in those elections for purposes of continuing or advancing the struggle. The last one is that we are trying to sell the FDC to NOP. Haven't you heard that? Yeah. That we are trying to sell the FDC to NOP. Honestly speaking. Can you imagine? Personally, I joined the FDC. Of course, I've worked with the reform agenda for a long time. I worked with the FDC for a very long time. But I joined the FDC at a time when it was so appetizing for one to join in NOP, at least from the region where I come from. Why did I choose FDC? But we are saying, look here, let's work in concert to dismantle this monster, that we can't do it alone. Let me tell you this. Mr. Lumumba here, the chairman, has told you that Salim Salah's pitched camp where? In Guru here. Why? Because they want now to create, to turn Gulu, to pacify Gulu, no, not actually, they are actually sub-region. Like now they have brought Mao in the loop. They have brought everybody, all these Akenas in Lango and whatnot. Now they want to use this as a launch pad. As a launch pad to hit at people who are rebellious against the regime. It's the reason Mr. Museveni had to purge everybody coming from Buganda in his government. Look at the lineup, because look at the lineup in his government. His deputy previously, he had a Muganda. He had allied with Buganda. Yes, he had the Bukenya, he had the Sekandi. Now he said, you are now rebellious. The speaker was one of your own here. After he died, you know what happened. That is number 3 in the country. Number 4 is your own from here. Chief Justice. Number 5 is the Deputy Speaker from Mitoma. You ask yourself, why is it that from number 1 up to number 10, there is no Muganda there? You ask yourself. This brings me to the issue of tribalism. Tribalism, which is being propagated by our very own. And it pains so much that Museveni is hitting at us there, that we are rebellious, and then even our colleagues in the party, they are also saying, let's create an alliance between the Easterners and Northerners who hit at those people. When Museveni is also hitting at us. When Salim Salah's pitched camp here to hit at us. You get the whole message, the point. And this is disastrous. It is dangerous. So don't buy into that crap. So the only logical thing we have to do is all the oppressed and the repressed Ugandans coming together. We throw out this family. That's the only logical thing we have to do. It's as simple as that. That one family which is entrenching itself here, I don't want to wait for another general to carry out a coup. Because I don't know what's going to happen to Gabon now. Or Niger, whatever. It can happen. Even the son of Gabon, of this guy Bongo, who was the head of the Presidential Guard Brigade, whatever. You heard what happened to him and so on and so forth. So we have to deal with that. And finally, this dynasty, which now is rearing its ugly head, with the Crown Prince now moving all over. We have to deal with it. So I want to end my submission, my message, with the same call, with the call made by, I want to re-echo what the Honorable Semuju said here. Now that today, Mama and our brothers here, you have hosted us in this home, next time we should be in the streets there. Not even Kaunda grounds. No.
On the street.
It should be in the streets next time we are here. And ladies and gentlemen, let us not be derailed. But that can only happen after we have liberated our platform. So I'm waiting for you on 19th to liberate the party. And then we continue with the struggle. May God bless you. I thank you.